Welcome to Coaching Deep Dives, presented by the Global Coach Collective. This is where evidence-based research meets practical application, and today we're exploring an insightful article about the psychology of performance and the transformative power of coaching.
All right, let's jump into this deep dive. We're going to tackle this whole idea of relentlessness. Seems like it's really got you thinking, huh?
You send over some seriously interesting articles about how it all ties into success, and honestly, I'm pretty fired up to unpack this with you. One thing, though, right off the bat, it jumped out at me from one of the pieces, that whole Thomas Edison thing, about how he found 10,000 ways that didn't work before he nailed the light bulb.
Oh, yeah. Talk about commitment, right? But it also makes me wonder, where's the line? Like, when does try again cross over into, okay, maybe time for a new plan?
That is the question, isn't it? And honestly, it gets to the core of what relentlessness actually is. It's not just about blindly repeating the same thing over and over. It's about having this rock-solid commitment to your goal. Yeah, but also being smart enough to adapt as you go. Imagine a mountain climber. They're not just going to keep banging their head against the same cliff face. Are they? They got to adjust the route, find new handholds, but that's summit, always the goal, always in sight.
Okay, I'm digging that analogy. So, we're talking about more than just being stubborn. There's strategy involved in this whole relentlessness thing, too. And that's where things get really interesting because it brings in the human element, all that stuff about desire, motivation, even personality traits.
Are you saying some people are just born relentless? That's a big part of what we'll explore, because one of your sources actually defines relentlessness as a choice. It's not just some inborn thing, it's something you actively decide to do, even when things get tough. Makes sense. And to really get that choice, we got to look at what drives it.
What fuels that fire? So, yeah, let's dive into the whole desire and motivation piece. All right, let's do it. Because you don't just become relentless out of thin air. Gotta be something driving that engine.
Exactly.
And your articles actually talk about two main types of motivation. Intrinsic. Intrinsic is about doing things because you truly enjoy them, while extrinsic is more about those external factors like rewards or recognition.
Okay, so writing for fun would be intrinsic, but working for a promotion is more extrinsic.
Perfect examples.
So you got it. But here's the thing. Though a lot of people think it's got to be one or the other, but it's not that simple. They can totally work together, especially when it comes to relentlessness.
So you're saying someone could be driven by both their passion for something and the desire to hit a specific goal.
Exactly. Think of an athlete training for the Olympics. They probably love their sport, right? Yeah, but they're also chasing that gold medal. Yeah, makes sense. That combo intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, that's powerful fuel for relentlessness.
Totally.
But hold on, that brings up something else. How do those different types of motivation help you stay relentless when things inevitably go sideways? If you're relying too much on those external rewards, what happens when you hit a wall? Do you just throw in the towel? Now, that is a brilliant question.
Yeah. And it gets to why understanding your own motivations is crucial. Because when things get tough, which they always do, it's that intrinsic drive that often keeps you going.
You're saying it's about that passion, that deep down belief in what you're doing.
That's it. That becomes the bedrock of your relentlessness.
Wow, never thought of it like that. So even if those external goals are still important, it's that inner fire that sustains you for the long haul?
Exactly. It's finding that balance, what truly drives you, what fuels that commitment. It's something to think about as we go forward because this idea of pushing through difficulty that's key to the next concept.
Yeah. Continuous effort. Are we talking about that never give up spirit? Doesn't that get mindless though? What if you're putting in tons of effort but getting nowhere? And that's where your sources get really insightful. They bring up this Winston Churchill quote: continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. But they're not saying it's about blindly charging ahead. It's about consistent effort coupled with self-awareness and the ability to adapt. So you've got to be paying attention to the results, not just the effort itself.
Precisely. Think of it like this. You're learning guitar, right? You could practice for hours every day. But if you're not paying attention to your technique, not getting feedback, you're probably going to hit a wall.
True. It's like driving with your eyes closed. You're moving, but who knows where you'll end up?
Makes sense. Effort without feedback. Not a good combo. Exactly. And here's where things get even more interesting.
Your sources dig into this thing called the Big Five personality traits, specifically highlighting conscientiousness.
Wait, the big five, that whole openness, conscientiousness, extroversion thing, what's that got to do with relentlessness?
Conscientiousness. More than you might think, people who score high in conscientiousness, they tend to be organized, disciplined, goal-oriented, all about planning, persevering, following through.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going with this. It's starting to click. So being conscientious is like having that built in engine for continuous effort.
You got it. Now think back to a time when you were super determined to achieve something. What was it about that situation or about you in that moment that fueled that drive? What kept you going?
Ooh, good question.
We'll let everyone ponder that for a minute while we move on to some pretty inspiring examples of relentlessness in action. It's amazing, right? How some people just embody relentlessness. Your articles mentioned Thomas Edison and J.K. Rowling.
Oh, yeah, those are classic examples, Edison. With his zillion light bulb tries and Rowling getting rejected left and right before Harry Potter hit it. Big put them on a pedestal, though, doesn't it?
Like they've got superhuman willpower or something. I get what you mean.
But the thing is, their stories really show how relentlessness isn't about some magical talent you're born with.
It's all about mindset, about how you approach things. Remember that Edison quote, "I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
That's a total game changer, right?
Yeah, turning failure into data instead of defeat. That's a pretty powerful way to look at it. And Rowling, her story proves how important it is to believe in what you're doing, even when nobody else gets it. She just kept refining her manuscript, kept sending it out, rejection after rejection.
Talk about resilience, right? So they both show that relentlessness isn't just about blindly pushing forward. It's that mix of drive and being able to adapt, plus really believing in yourself.
Exactly. And here's the really cool part. These aren't just feel-good stories. They're instructive. We can actually learn from these people and cultivate a more relentless mindset ourselves.
Hold up. Are you saying anyone can just become more relentless? Because some people just seem like they're wired that way. Naturally driven, ambitious, that whole thing. And
It's true that some folks might be naturally inclined towards certain personality traits. But the awesome thing is, those qualities aren't set in stone. Like your sources say, relentlessness is a skill you can actually build up over time, like a muscle. Okay, that's a pretty empowering way to think about it. But where do you even start? It seems like such a massive thing. Your articles lay out some practical steps, actually. One biggie, defining your purpose.
what really lights you up? Those core values and passions that get you fired up when you're crystal clear on your purpose? It's way easier to stay motivated and push through tough times. It's like having that internal compass. Keeps you headed in the right direction. And once you've got that direction, you can set clear goals that line up with your purpose.
And here's a tip. Break those big, scary goals down into smaller chunks. More manageable milestones makes the journey less intimidating. Plus, you get that sense of achievement as you hit each marker along the way, like creating a roadmap, breaking down that mountain into smaller climbs.
Exactly. And remember, those setbacks.
Totally gonna happen. But don't freak out. Embrace them. Failure is just part of the process, not a sign of weakness, but a chance to learn, adapt, and grow. So people who are highly conscientious, they're naturally drawn to planning, organizing, persevering, all that good stuff.
Detail oriented, focused on reaching their goals, sounds perfect for developing a relentless mindset, right? It's like they've got that built in structure to help them along.
Exactly. But even if you don't naturally score super high in conscientiousness, there are things you can do. Like creating a detailed action plan can be super helpful.
Your sources suggest outlining your goals, breaking them down into specific tasks, setting deadlines, and making sure you review and adjust your plan as needed.
That sounds pretty doable, like those project management systems, but for your life. And your articles also talk about the value of coaching. They mention these two experts, doctors. Tommy Moser and Michael Williams, who specialize in helping people reach their full potential. So having a coach could help you stay focused and really develop that relentless mindset. A good coach is there to support you, hold you accountable, and guide you.
They can help you spot obstacles, come up with solutions, and stay motivated when you hit those inevitable bumps. Like a personal trainer, but for your goals. They push you, support you, help you get to where you want to be. And just like getting in shape, building a relentless mindset takes ongoing effort.
It's a commitment you make to yourself, that conscious choice to keep pushing, keep learning, and keep moving towards your goals. This is all making sense, but how do you know if you're actually becoming more relentless? Is there like a test or something?
That's a great question, but it's not about hitting some arbitrary level of relentlessness. It's about how you react to challenges, how you handle setbacks, and how you keep that motivation going over time. And a great way to track those changes is to think back on your own experiences. Remember those personal stories we talked about?
Those times you overcame obstacles, those are pure gold. It's funny, when we first started talking about this whole relentlessness thing, it felt overwhelming, something only certain people could pull off. But now, after going through all this, it feels more doable, like a skill you can actually work on.
I get that. It's all about understanding the concepts, right? It's not about fitting into some perfect mold. It's realizing that we all have the potential to grow, to develop. So it's not about becoming some kind of super driven machine. It's more about tapping into what's already there, that inner drive, and figuring out how to use it.
Exactly, and that's where looking back at our own experiences comes in. Those times we faced some crazy challenge and found a way to get through it. Those moments have so much to teach us about our own ability to be relentless. But I kept pushing through because I guess I knew I had to. Looking back, I can totally see how that experience changed how I deal with challenges now. And it shows something really important, those stories of resilience, of determination. They're not just feel-good anecdotes, they're like data points. They show us our patterns, our strengths, and maybe those areas where we could be a bit more resilient. So it's like those stories become part of our toolkit for being more relentless. We can use those past experiences to fuel our future efforts.
Exactly. And as you keep exploring this whole idea of relentlessness, try to keep those personal stories in mind. What patterns do you see? What worked for you before? What challenges did you overcome that you can draw strength from now? These are really making me think, and it makes me think about everyone listening too. Everyone's got those stories of struggle and triumph. It's almost like we're all in this together, this whole human experience of pushing through tough times and coming out stronger on the other side.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Yeah. What will your story of relentlessness be? Ooh, now that's a good one. What will your story be? We've talked about a lot today: desire, motivation, continuous effort, that whole idea of adapting and learning from setbacks.
But now it's about taking all that and putting it into action.
Yeah. So here's the challenge. What's one small step you can take right now to be more relentless in going after something that truly matters to you? Maybe it's finally starting that project you've been putting off, reaching out to someone for advice, or even just deciding to face your challenges with more determination.
And remember, it doesn't have to be some huge dramatic thing. Relentlessness, it's often about those small, consistent actions that add up to amazing results over time.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into relentlessness, think of it not as some heavy burden, but as this powerful tool for growth, for fulfillment.
It's about making that choice to keep striving, keep learning, keep pushing towards that future you're creating for yourself. It's about finding that relentless spirit inside you and letting it loose. Keep digging deep, everyone, and never underestimate what you can achieve when you set your mind to it.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Coaching Deep Dives, where we transform coaching scholarship into actionable insights.